The PCA was interested at looking at how we can start a community dialogue with community groups and with other community centres to look at the issues that are currently arising in terms of the austerity measures that are taking place. Bring the community centres together to try and develop some kind of support structure that would support local people. So let me introduce you to Taimika Maka from Poverty Alliance.
We work with community groups, we work with policymakers, we work with service providers across the whole range of spectrum to look at the issues of poverty and social exclusion, but also to work together to try and do something about it. And I'm glad I'm here today to try and hear the extent to which the people of North Edinburgh are keen to try and look at the challenges we are facing now. Across the UK, 500,000 people are expected to have to resort to food banks and food aid because they can't afford to put food on the table. We know that poor people didn't cause the crisis. The crisis was actually caused by the rich. But when it comes to the punitive measures that government comes up with, including the reduction in welfare support, then it's the people at the bottom of the scale that take the brunt of the punishment. The Scottish Government has set up a Scottish Welfare Fund. Those of you who have the means to reach to the people that that fund is supposed to help should actually spread that word. Encourage people who are facing financial challenges to go to Citizens Advice, to go to money advice organizations so that they can be supported. At the end of the day, we have all to be together in tackling the immediate challenges, but also knowing that we have a duty to challenge the powers that be. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. Unfortunately, this is not the first time we've been here over the last 30 years. We keep having to bring the community together for a whole range of different things, trying to stave off the effects of poverty. We looked at, the types of jobs that people done in the community, and the vast majority of people who live in the community do service sector jobs. And these are currently the jobs that are part-time, zero contracts, and where there's been a real reduction in wages. And then, of course, people on benefits, we have the bedroom tax, we have the free zone benefits.
At the moment, those who have fought for community centres to be built, to be organised, to be properly funded, and be placed in all the different parts of our city, right, and our area, from Royston to Drylaw to the Millennium to here to the Prentice Centre and to other places. We have resources, and at the moment they are good venues. They're venues that people use, but they voluntarily come in. They come in for a club, or they come in for Zumba, or they come in for a range of things. If people put on educations, etc., etc. But in a sense, the people who didn't come in, right, are the people probably who should be coming into community centres. Because community centres should be at the heart of our community. They should be geared up right now to meet the challenges of our area. At the moment, if you look across the area, there is wonderful initiatives taking place. These, we know, are only dealing with a tiny proportion of people in the area, that they're not really touching very far into the heart of the problem. That doesn't mean to say the people in these community centres and food processes and wee cafes and whatever are only trying to do their best. But what we need today, I think, is to harness the resources in the area to see what more resources we can get as a community voice, as a collective voice of all the organisations, regardless of whether religious or sporting or community centres or tenants associations, whatever. What we could do, now that we have the welfare fund, if we argue it right, and if we look at other resources, and we bring the council and the partnership that's in the area, who've got resources, we could build, I believe, what I call the People's Kitchen. A kitchen in the area that would generate food on a scale that means people could be fed every day is we need to move towards community solidarity, community support. And if we could do that, whether it's building a new kitchen in some place that we can locate it, that people can come and a distribution system. You see, myself and Barbara went up to talk to the mosque kitchen. What happens in there is that they produce food on a fantastic scale, very, very cheaply. We talked to them and we thought it would be possible, and they said it was possible, that they could train people here to produce that volume of food. So you can think of 300 foods, proportions. How would we get that to people? If it was cooked here, or cooked somewhere else, or cooked somewhere else in the area, or brought it together, you could have a distribution centre, or system. How would you do that? Where would you take it? Just onto street corners and whatever? No, the community centres. Surely, they're located in every place. We could support the initiatives that are going on at the moment. We could take, when the seasonal food comes for the community gardens across the area, we could add that to the food source. We could go, as Jimmy was telling me, he was at a conference the other day there, and Blind Waitrose and Morrison's turned up and said, "What do you want? What do you need?" And Jimmy said, "Oh, they're going to have something in North Edinburgh. We've got a Waitrose there." Right? Now, I'm not letting anybody off the hook that the food prices have shot up and whatever, right? And it's a profitable making. But actually, why don't we use that? Why don't we bring the food, right, to a central point? We could produce it. We could maybe feed people where it's being cooked. But where we need to go out, we could go out. We could have a couple of vehicles, quite easily, right? We could fund that. We could get that. We need to step up to the mark. Now, there's a lot more to be done. We're trying to shake it up a little bit, right, in a gentle way. We understand that people who run community centres are hard pushed, and there's a lot of energy in that. But nevertheless, with that central organisation taking that responsibility away for community centres and then handing the responsibility to the community centres to help to support people in their areas, we could return the community centres into something which lots of people use.
I've contacted ward councillors, not just here in Forth, but in Inverleith and Leith Walk. Leith, not Leith Walk. And I'm quite heartened by the cross-party support and interest there has been. So we're going to get Willie to come and present his ideas, probably Barbara as well. I think there's only been one of the ward councillors who's had to send his apologies, but has asked to speak to me about it. So there is interest there, and we will provide whatever support we possibly can. And with that, I'm afraid I'm off to education.
People realise that we have a basic crisis food bank round the corner. It's now in the Grant Baptist Church. But what I was wanting to say was, different to Trestle Trust, anybody who wants to find out what we do, but it's at least they can get up to 8 weeks. But they not only get food, they get support. We go into their benefits. They have to be referred by workers or somebody who's working in an area, not necessarily, but they have referral forms. But what I think is amazing about this is we have to let them go when we kind of get them sort of on an even keel. But to have the next step of to hand over to this kind of thing is just amazing. I'm nearly in tears to hear you say this, because it's just moving them on. They can come back to us, they have coffee, and they can come when they've had their food, so they can still speak to us if they're lonely or all the rest of it. But it's totally different to this Trestle Trust. They also have a shopping list, and they tick off on the shopping list what they want. There's fresh food and vegetables when the Cyrenians can bring it. This could be an amazing thing to carry on. Your idea is amazing. I've run off a few things which tells you all about the basic bank.
Yeah. Could you give Barbara the email address and Thank you very much.
And a lot of community food co-ops, I think one of the major things is stigma and how you get around the element of stigma. You used to have food co-ops, people go, well, that's just for poor folk, that's just for this. And is there a way of thinking of this, that this is a community that everybody can go to, that you don't get people going, I can't go there because people know if I go up there it's because I'm poor. You know, so that sort of, that solution. The other thing is I've just started reading a report from the British Red Cross, which is talking about people being passive recipients and how that's, you know, they're seeing that more and more and more, and how can we change that so there's a culture that people don't become passive recipients, they can be part of it, they can give back if they want, and I think that's important. Otherwise what will happen is that we will create a lot of passive recipients, we will create stigma, and I think we need to have those things out at the beginning. And I agree, I think the food banks are a solution to a part of it, but I think it's a short-term solution, and this, as you've said rightly, is a longer-term solution. So
I visited a project in Provenhill in Glasgow, and all these things had come up. So the first thing they did was to make it a collective community idea. They put out 4,000 leaflets through everybody's door, explaining what it is they were trying to do, explaining that they were opening a community kitchen, running alongside that community kitchen would be a food bank, running alongside that community kitchen would also be a canteen where you paid for food. You could go and the meals are £2. So everybody come and use it, and then that subsidises that. So from the outset, the idea that this is a collective community food initiative, which is open to everyone, and again, and how they then recognise people who they could approach and say, is everything okay? Can we support you? We can deliver food to your house. You don't have to come to the community centre. Was through housing officers who go into people's houses, and then they were coming back and saying, well, this family's in sort of in need. They also went to all the families that had children in breakfast clubs. They also went to the schools, to primary school teachers who get an inkling of what home life's like for children. So they were able to speak to families quite individually and offer, rather than wait for families to come wringing their hands, can you help me? So it was done in that way, and it's been quite successful. And they now have a community kitchen where actually work vans pull up at lunchtime because guys are getting, they're getting mince and tatties and lasagna for £2. But what they said to me was that there was the issue about health and safety and all that, and they turned round to the council officials and said, tell you what, shut us down. We're going to open it up. We're not going to wait for you because we'll wait forever. Shut us down. We're going to open it. Come and shut us down. Right? And of course, it's not happened. Of course, they then got the engagement very quickly as anyway, because the local people were saying, if we wait for somebody else to do it for us and we tick all the legislative boxes, it ain't going to happen.